Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mystical. Today, I am bringing you a video going over how to gear with the week 1 of season 2. I know it can be a little bit overwhelming with what you need to do, and we actually can get quite a few pieces of gear. So I'm going to try to make this as easy and straightforward as possible so that there's no confusion and there's no questions about what needs to get done this week. And with that said, let's jump right into the video. The very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to just PvP to get honor gear, and this is done through battlegrounds, arenas, pretty much anything PvP related. You're going to get honor, and you're going to go to this vendor right here, and she is going to sell you honor gear. That is my number one recommendation. Just try to get full honor gear. Now from here, what I would recommend you do is start to learn what you should recraft. So when you go into season 2 from season 1, if you recraft gear with gems or sockets, it actually keeps, and enchants actually, it keeps them, which is crazy. So I'm going to show you how to recraft your gear. But what I did is I used my honor on these prized aspirants heraldries. I would buy a bunch of these. This is what I did. And I just recrafted any gear that I crafted last season. I recrafted for this season. And then anything I didn't craft last season, I just bought honor gear for. So I didn't craft like a cloak last season. So I just bought a normal honor cloak, but I did craft a chest last season, so I just recrafted it, and I'm going to show you quickly how to recraft your gear. So first of all, like I mentioned, you're going to buy these prized aspirants heraldries. I think I bought like 30, so I would just buy 30 of these, and you go over here to the crafting vendor, or whatever you want to call it, recrafting vendor. You fly over here and you go to this vendor right here, or this lady right here, and you're gonna be able to recraft your gear here. So I'm gonna click on start recrafting order, hit the plus, and I need to recraft my belt. I put the wrong, I honestly did put the wrong stats on it. So I'm gonna hit track recipe, and I'm gonna go to the auction house. And it's pretty simple. You just go to the auction house and, you know, look up what gear you need. You also need to buy a missive as well. So I need a carapace, back hide. So I need you, or you can also just go for the cheapest one, because PvP gear scales up. So it doesn't matter what like quality gear you get or the materials. And then I need storm charged leather. And I need how much of these? I need 40 of these. And again, just going for the cheapest one. And then the one thing I always forget is to get a missive. So do missive of the, and then a bunch of things are going to go up. Filter for current expansion, hit search. And then I think I want haste mastery, honestly. I really do. I think haste mastery. Actually, I'll do haste mastery on the other. I'll do verse mastery on the belt. And then I'll go haste mastery on like one of the rings. So again, I'm going to go for the cheapest one. Buy one of those. And then that's all you need for recrafting. The last thing you're going to need is you're going to need somebody to actually make it for you. So if you're recrafting, you're going to need somebody to get it for you. You don't also need to recraft, but I would recommend it if it has sockets. So I would highly recommend doing that. I personally made an alt that has leatherworking. So this is another, I have a video actually going over this. I have an alt that I leveled up leatherworking for, and it's really, really good. So that's another thing I would recommend. So I put missive verse mastery here. So I'm going to get a verse mastery belt, send this to my alt, give them 1 gold, and then it's that easy to recraft. I know it seems a little bit overwhelming with gearing and all that, but it's really that simple. Just make sure you buy the lowest cost materials, because again, this scales up in PvP, so it doesn't matter what base item level it is, but that's how you recraft a piece of gear. Speaking of recrafting, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to continue PvPing until you get to the quest from either the battlegrounds or arenas, BG Blitz. It doesn't matter. A quest is going to pop up at the end of a PvP instance, and it's going to give you 9 of the crafting materials to make your any crafting gear conquest item level. So this right here, I think I did an arena. It was a 3s game. It took a few 3s games actually, and this quest popped up, and I handed it in, and I got 9 of the prized gladiators heraldry. And you would do the same exact thing. Now I would recommend for this, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is my recommendation to all mistweavers, is I'm probably going to just craft the rings and the neck. Honestly, it's just really good secondary stats. You could also go with like the chest for if you want the extra intellect. That's also a good choice as well. Either works. Eventually you're gonna get fully geared anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But you're gonna do the same exact thing. You're gonna come to this vendor right here. You're going to click on whatever slot you want to recraft. So I'm going to go on my neck. I'm going to change these, the craft your material to the prized gladiator's heraldry, I'm obviously going to need the materials, and then you just recraft, and you're going to see it is 670 item level, which is amazing. The next thing I want to talk about is the Bloody Token World Quest. So if you come to this guy right here, he's going to give you a quest called Sparks of War Undermine, and what this quest does is it pretty much means you go world PvP in the Undermine, so you are going to have to unlock it. It's a relatively quick quest line, and you're just going to go, you're going to kill rares, kill players, do world quests. It doesn't matter. You're going to get the Sparks of War from doing that. You can also loot the chests and the treasures, and you'll get some. And at the end, you're going to get 1,000 bloody tokens. You're probably going to have 1,350, which is the weekly cap. And this is really, really good because on this other vendor, it's not the honor vendor, the war mode vendor right here, he's going to sell you some bloody token gear. And these have like different stats than the honor vendor. They are also 3 item levels lower than the normal Conquest gear, but it's still 675 item level, so it's still amazing. And here you could really buy anything here, really, for the most part. You could buy the main hand, for example. You could buy the main hand, and let me see, yeah, because the main hand is cheaper, right? For mistweavers, I was thinking about buying the main hand because I think it's verse mash. Yeah, the mace you can buy here, and then if you wanted to, you could buy like maybe the Conquest offhand if you wanted to. But there's a lot of good options for the bloody token vendor. You also don't have to do that. I'm going to mention it in the tier sets, but if you want to get your 2 set and you don't want to spend like all your conquest this week, you can go to this vendor. You can actually buy bloody token gear and convert that to tier and get the 2 set that way. That way you save some conquest. Both work fine, but either way, it feels like free gear because bloody token gear is really good. The stats are somewhat nice. Sometimes they have high mastery gear, like normally the cloak. Yeah, right here. The cloak is normally like super high mastery, which is really nice. And then same with bracers. Sometimes the honor vendor or the conquest vendor don't have like a certain stat for a slot, right? Sometimes there's no verse mastery bracers, or sometimes there's no verse mastery belts, and then this vendor will have that. So I would check it on what stats you need and then go to this vendor and see if there's any way that they have a slot that has your stats that the Conquest or Honor vendor doesn't. Next up is tier, and they actually changed a little bit this season, so I'm just going to go over that. So first of all, the cap this week is 1,600, which is absolutely amazing. So I would say try to cap as much Conquest as you can this week. Ideally, you cap this bar right here. And what I would recommend, now it's up to you what piece to get. What I would do is I would try to figure out what tier sets and what tier pieces you want. You can do that by holding down Shift J and going to item sets, and then you can actually see what pieces of gear you can get for tier, their stats and all that, and what exactly a tier set is. So for mistweavers, I think tier 2 sets can be good. The 4 sets kind of bad. So what I would recommend is you can then, once you figure out what slots you want to put tier in, you can just buy the piece of gear. So you can get 2 set this week. So the first piece of gear, you're going to just buy the Conquest gear. So it's either going to be helm, shoulders, chest, gloves, or legs. And then you're going to come over to the catalyst here, and you can convert it to tier. So you click on this, you drag the piece of gear, and it gets converted to tier, which is amazing. The next way to get your second catalyst is to get 1,600. So once you get to 1,600 rated, and I haven't gotten 1,600 rated yet. I wasn't able to PvP much yesterday. You get another charge of the catalyst, which is incredible. So get to 1,600, and then you're gonna be able to get a second charge of the catalyst, and then you can convert the second piece of conquest to tier. Now, if you don't want to spend your conquest, you could also use bloody token gear. Like we mentioned earlier, that quest is super quick. It's a little bugged right now. I don't know if they fixed it, but you could also buy the bloody token gear, whether it's the helm, chest, gloves, legs, or shoulders, and you can also convert that to tier. But the one thing to note is that is 3 item levels less than the normal conquest gear. So you will be able to get tier and not have to spend conquest points on it, but it will be 3 item levels less. The next thing I would recommend doing now that we made tier gear is to socket it. Really, really important. So for example, I converted my helm to tier, but I don't have precog anymore. My last helm had my precog on it. So what I would recommend is going to this vendor right here, and they should sell the prized jeweler setting. And this allows you to add a socket to a helm, neck, bracers, belt, or ring. And you can actually add 2 sockets to the next rings. And I think just those 2, and then single sockets for the others. So you could buy this, and you could just socket your whatever you converted to tier or whatever. I need it for my helm. And you can see how easy that was. All I did was add the socket to my helm, and then I'm just going to go to the auction house and buy precog, and now my helm has precog. Finally, my last suggestion, at least for mistweavers and probably most specializations, is do not buy weapons. Obviously, the bloody token gear, it's temporary, so it's just bloody token gear. So I would maybe buy it if you see a weapon there that you want. But for the most part, they've added the achievement back to the game where once you get a certain amount of conquest, you get your free weapons. So I would recommend not buying weapons until you get to that point. Other than that, that is pretty much how you gear week 1 of the new season. I know it seems a bit overwhelming, but hopefully this was a little bit more straightforward, a little bit easier to understand. It's just a few things you got to go through: recrafting, honor, a little bit of conquest gear here, some world PvP. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. And that's it. Hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the day. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you later.